Why this generation of single men is the happiest ever and it's not close is not a clickbait idea. It is an observation that quietly unsettles modern culture because it contradicts everything men were told would make them fulfilled. For decades, the script was simple. Find a partner early, build together, sacrifice together, and happiness will follow. Yet something unexpected happened. As relationships became more complex, more politicized, and more emotionally demanding, a growing number of men stepped away not in anger, not in defeat, but in calm self-awareness. And instead of collapsing, they stabilized. Instead of spiraling, they focused. Instead of becoming lonely, they became lighter. This generation of single men grew up watching contradictions play out in real time. They watched their fathers work endlessly only to be emotionally dismissed. They watched marriages framed as success stories dissolve quietly behind closed doors. They saw love turn into negotiation, then into leverage, then into legal risk. They internalized one core lesson early on. Happiness cannot be outsourced to another person in a system that constantly shifts its rules. Single men today are not alone by accident. Many of them are alone by design. They reached a point where the emotional cost of participation outweighed the benefit. They noticed how modern relationships often required constant self-editing. Be strong but not intimidating. Be sensitive but not weak. Be ambitious but always available. Lead but never assert authority. These men did the math. They realized that peace was becoming rare and peace had value. What separates this generation from previous ones is awareness. Earlier generations stayed single because they were excluded. This generation stays single because they are informed. They have access to stories, data, lived experiences, and unfiltered conversations. They see patterns clearly. They see how attention economies distort expectations. They see how validation has replaced intimacy, and they choose clarity over chaos. Single men today wake up without emotional debt. They don't start their day negotiating moods, decoding passive signals, or preparing for emotional fallout. Their nervous systems are calmer. Their mornings are quieter. Their routines are their own. This matters more than people admit. Chronic emotional tension erodes a man slowly. Freedom restores him. This generation has also reframed masculinity. Happiness is no longer defined by conquest or approval. It is defined by control over time, energy, and direction. Single men invest in their bodies not to impress but to feel capable. They invest in skills not to attract but to become self-reliant. They build competence because competence breeds confidence, and confidence doesn't need applause. There is a myth that men need constant romantic companionship to be emotionally healthy. This myth collapses when you look closely. Many men report improved mental health after leaving unstable relationships. Anxiety drops, focus improves, self-respect returns. The silence they once feared becomes a sanctuary. Modern culture frames single men as incomplete, but single men know something quietly radical. They are not half of a unit. They are whole systems. Their happiness comes from alignment, not attachment, from progress, not performance. Technology played an unexpected role here. While it complicated dating, it also exposed it. Men saw how quickly loyalty could be replaced by options, how easily effort could be dismissed as baseline. This exposure removed illusions, and when illusions die, so does dependency. This generation of single men understands opportunity cost. Time spent managing emotional volatility is time not spent building a life. They learned that consistency with themselves produced more peace than inconsistency with others. They stopped outsourcing meaning and started engineering it. Another uncomfortable truth is that many men discovered they felt lonelier inside relationships than outside them. Emotional neglect, constant criticism, or being valued only for utility creates a specific kind of isolation. Solitude, in contrast, can be honest. Honest solitude heals. Single men today also benefit from male camaraderie returning in new forms. Gyms, online communities, shared projects, disciplined routines. Brotherhood is no longer built only through marriage. Men support men again, not through complaint but through growth. Happiness for these men is not excitement. It is stability. It is waking up without dread. It is knowing their efforts compound instead of being reset by conflict. It is progress without sabotage. They also understand that choosing single life does not mean rejecting love forever. It means refusing to accept misalignment. It means standards without resentment. It means patience without desperation. They would rather wait alone than settle loudly. This is why the happiness gap exists. Men who no longer chase validation regain internal authority. Authority produces calm. Calm produces clarity. Clarity produces satisfaction. There is also relief in stepping off the performance treadmill. No more proving worth through sacrifice. No more translating needs into acceptable language. No more fearing misinterpretation. Single men live directly. They eat better, sleep better, train better, think better, because their energy is conserved. Critics call this avoidance. These men call it discernment. They are not hiding. They are preparing, or they are simply enjoying what they've built. This generation also witnessed how quickly affection can turn into entitlement. They saw how commitment can be reframed as control. They adapted by withdrawing from unstable environments. That is not fear. That is intelligence. Happiness is alignment between effort and reward. For many men, modern relationships broke that equation. Single life restored it. Men are happiest when their environment rewards discipline, honesty, and direction. Single life does that. It gives immediate feedback. Effort leads to progress. Progress leads to confidence. Confidence leads to calm. This calm is misread as detachment. In reality, it is emotional maturity. Single men today are not numb. They are regulated. They are not bitter. They are clear. They are not lonely. They are selective with their energy. And that is why this generation of single men is the happiest ever. Not because they have less desire, but because they have more self-respect. Not because they gave up on connection, but because they stopped chasing it in places that demanded self-betrayal. Happiness followed not when they found someone else, but when they stopped abandoning themselves.